Think back what was happening in 77. Sunnyside, our beautiful, new 2-year-old hospital. Think about that. The inpatient pediatric practice at that time was at Best Kaiser, of course, and Dick was one of the founders of the nursery, as I understand it, at Best Kaiser. And, 40 years ago, pediatricians were real general pediatricians. So, as I was told, you were even doing neonatology shifts at St. Vincent in those days. So that is some phenomenal work. Also, the commitment that you've had to medical education, residents, medical students. Dick has won the Resident Teaching Award as well. And I think that's worth a round of applause actually right there, because that is a hard award. I mean, that is really recognition of your mentorship, your guidance, and your teaching.
He's won like 5 or 6 times.
Okay, well that's even better. So that's or 3. He says. Okay, well it seemed like it was 5 or 6. The other thing that you mentioned, Jeannie, that is really critical is you remember back in '77 when we had these complicated patients, cystic fibrosis patients and others. The thought in those days was the only place they could be taken care of was at a tertiary care medical center like OHSU. But he really proved that we in Kaiser Permanente could take care of these kids and get as good of outcomes, if not better outcomes, than they were getting at OHSU. So founding the CF program, the childhood diabetes program, so many other important things. Again, thank you very much, Dick, for that. When I talk to, I'm sorry, yeah, please, that's important stuff. The thing that kept coming up and talking with his partners was about his energy again, and I didn't know this before, but this sort of getting to work at 6 in the morning, being efficient, being helpful to partners, getting things done. But the other piece of it that I thought was really interesting is 2 of your partners pointed out this concept of innovation, that you were always like looking for a better way to do something. I don't know, does that resonate with the pediatricians?
Yep.
I mean, is that what the reputation is about? I mean, that's one of the things that we're really valuing and we're really trying to get, and you've been doing it for a long time. And then the last part, in addition to the salsa dancing, was apparently Dr. Cohen is quite a practical joker as well. I talked to Bob Peterson, and he mentioned one episode on, I think, April Fool's, when you may have to explain this, but you brought a paper-mache dog into work and put it in the bathroom so that anyone who went in there got an initial shock when they entered the bathroom door. I don't know where that came from, but it was certainly, it's true, okay, so we're gonna, there must be a picture of that somewhere along the way.
Still in their house.
Still in their house.
Is that right? The dog is still there? Yeah. So, Dr. Cohen, I mean, this is just scratching the surface of the things that were said about you. I mean, I think it is so exciting when I talked to you beforehand, before when we were having wine and whatnot, and I could tell just in talking with you about the enthusiasm, the care, the compassion. Your partner said that you leave your pager on when you're not working so patients can get a hold of you.
Yep.
I mean, it's really dedication to everything we really believe in as Permanente physicians. And so what a thrill to be here to celebrate the career and to look forward to the future number of years, as long as you want to be working for us. Coming up and receiving your award, get a picture with Imelda, and would you mind saying a few things to us about, let's get our picture first, and then we'll have you, here comes Imelda up here.
Here comes Imelda.
Let's see, you can be just right there, I think that's great.
I don't have my glasses on, so I have no...
We're going to invite all of you back for new pictures.
Sit on your lap.
Yeah, well,
You have to sit on
Dr. Cohen, would you mind?
Thank you very much, Mike, for that eulogy. I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful gig for me. I have to say, I came out of residency in '77, and I had actually interned at a Kaiser hospital in San Francisco. So I was sold on Kaiser at that time, and then I was in the U.S. Public Health Service, kind of the tail end of the Vietnam War, in doing primary care. Before I even went into pediatrics, I was stationed in Honolulu, which was a lot better than going to Vietnam. And then I trained at OHSU in pediatrics, and the first year of training, we gave the best teaching award to the Xerox machine. It wasn't terribly robust, and I always have gotten turned on by teaching, and I still am turned on by teaching the residents. I always give them the example of a complicated patient. We had, the head of neonatology was an elderly man named Dr. Babson, who was really into growing preemies and wasn't so into critical care, so we'd be rounding in the NICU, and we'd come across a 27-week baby with 2 chest tubes and intracranial hemorrhage on a ventilator on high settings. And I was a resident there, and he'd scratch his head and say, well, Dick, that's a tough one. Let's move on to the next one.
Oh my God.
And that's what I tell the residents anytime we have a tough case. But 5 years ago, the person who recognized me at this dinner was Rashad Lentz. And he was a wonderful person, and he tried to roast me during that dinner, but it didn't quite come across that way because there was a tenderness between us, and he was a gentle, wonderful spirit, and I miss him very much.
Bravo.
I also want to acknowledge my older kids who are here. Cassie, who's taking pictures of me now, and Galen is right there. I do have 18-year-old twin boys, and they are both back east in college. And my wife, Janie, is at Parents Weekend for Bernie, who's at Bard College. And I'm working Dornbecker this week, so I couldn't go, but I also had this dinner, and I thought I probably ought to show. I thought it would be a good idea. But I have to, there's lots of thoughts I have that I could go on and on and on, but I have to say, I mean, why would anybody actually be here for 40 years? I mean, what in fact is the incentive for being here? I have been offered so many opportunities in this medical group. I have done basically everything. I have been in the administrative circuits. I've been able to do primary care and work in the hospital. I did a month of a pediatric critical care fellowship up in Seattle in anticipation of opening up our pediatric critical care unit at Best Kaiser. Best Kaiser was a family. It was a wonderful inner city hospital, and I still grieve the loss of that camaraderie that we had. And we had a NICU there. I didn't start the NICU, by the way. I wasn't a neonatologist, but I did work in the NICU, and I also worked at St. Vincent. So I've been afforded the opportunities to work a ton in a lot of different venues, for which I am very grateful, because without a specific fellowship training, I never would have been afforded those opportunities. So I'm extremely grateful to the group. I am in this gig for a while, not only because I have twin boys who are at high tuition schools. I still kind of like what I do. I am drifting a little more toward the hospital these days, and was the chief of service at our Dornbecker service when we moved over from Best Kaiser in 1996. For many, many years, I have currently relinquished pretty close to 100% of my administrative tasks, and I'm kind of a trench worker, and you know, I kind of like it. So I'm not ready to retire, and I do get asked that every day, and I always get the same answer, that I'm not quite ready yet, and I'm sure I will be. I do have outside interests, lots of them, so I'm not one of these sick, total 100% workaholics, although probably, and I also have a darling 2-year-old granddaughter. And that's really what it's all about. I am certain that I forgot to mention some things and thank everybody. I love my colleagues. It's a special group of people that I feel sometimes are undervalued in the group because we're trench workers and we work really hard and we're low profile, but it's an unbelievable group, and they're my friends as well. So, thank you.